Alright. Colleen Ballinger decided to come on this Tea Time podcast, and it's called Exclusive Colleen Ballinger Tells Her Side. I have my thoughts on the Colleen Ballinger situation. I never talked about it on the channel, or maybe I have, and referenced it maybe in one of my previous videos, but I don't know about it right now. But my overall take on the Colleen Ballinger situation is I do think that people got a little bit annoying about the Colleen Ballinger situation. I feel like the energy was not as proportionate as it should have been. That doesn't mean she wasn't in the wrong, just to be clear. I still think that Colleen Ballinger, what she did was very inappropriate, and I definitely don't think she should be a content creator. But you know, a lot of people were saying that she was sexually grooming kids, and I just don't subscribe to that idea. The definition of grooming is a very deep, methodical process of setting typically a child up for typically sexual exploitation, but could be an adult. You can groom adults into things. It's very rare, though. Super rare. Grooming doesn't always have to be sexual. You can groom them into, like, gangs and stuff, but when we talk about predatory grooming, we're usually talking about sexual grooming. And a lot of people were shifting the goalposts, saying, oh, you know, Colleen Ballinger, what she did wasn't sexual grooming. Okay, sure. Then what did she groom them into? But then they'll pivot to, oh, but look at what all the sexual stuff that she did with the kids. You know what I mean? Like, the goalpost was shifting. Really, what it boils down to was Colleen Ballinger was having just inappropriate conversations with minors in her 30s. Now, she wasn't trying to sex them or anything. She wasn't trying to sexually exploit them. But she was bringing up topics you shouldn't bring up around minors. Like, she was asking them, like, at what age did they lose their virginity and stuff like that. Very weird shit. Like, you shouldn't be asking minors these questions, just to be clear. Very inappropriate. Shouldn't be doing it. But she wasn't doing it with the intention of trying to fuck a kid, basically. So I wouldn't go that far. I feel like that's disproportionate. Still inappropriate. Shouldn't be a content creator. You got to be a lot more responsible, especially considering Colleen was in her 30s when this happened too. She has to be a lot more responsible when she's handling kid audience. But now she's speaking up yet again, telling her side. So I guess we'll just hear what's being said. Yeah.
Today, we're sitting down with Colleen Ballinger, actress, comedian, and YouTuber, best known for her character, Miranda Sings.
If you were anywhere online in 2023, you probably saw Colleen's name trending. It's because she was accused of crossing personal boundaries with fans, some of whom were minors, and the response was intense.
Yeah, okay, fair enough, I guess.
She posted a response video that made the whole situation blow up even more.
I mean, to be fair, I'm pretty sure she sent, like, a pair of underwear to one of the minors as well and mailed it to them, and I'm like, that's fucking crazy. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? That's so stupid and silly.
And what followed was one of the biggest public cancellations we've seen in a while.
This is actually the first time that we're meeting Colleen, and we've decided to do it now.
Was it that or Ava Chris Tyson? Because Mr. Beast's brand, I would believe, is bigger than Colleen Ballinger's, right? I'm sure there's, like, bigger cancellations you can think of than Colleen Ballinger's. Not to say that hers wasn't big.
Because we feel like enough time has passed for reflection and learning and for a real conversation behind the headlines.
It's easy to form opinions based on what we see online, but harder to sit down face to face and ask questions about what's really happened, what someone's taken from it, and how they're moving forward.
Our goal isn't to revisit every detail, but to understand the human side of the story that became very public.
Interesting. Okay, I mean, these are interesting boundaries we're setting. I am a little bit skeptical of how they're going to handle this, because I don't want this to be like a whitewashing of what Colleen did. I don't want them to say, like, Colleen is innocent. She is totally innocent, and she is, like, robbed from any wrongdoing. If they engage with this in the correct level, with the correct level of nuance, then I think this could potentially be a productive conversation. I also know it's likely not going to resonate with a lot of people because a lot of people have already decided that Colleen Ballinger is like a horrific pedophile groomer or whatever. And I don't think that's proportionate. I still think what she did was wrong and she shouldn't be a content creator, but she's not, like, what she did wasn't grooming in any capacity.
So today, Colleen is here to share her perspective in her own words, to share what she's learned, what she regrets, and what she hopes all of us take away from it now.
And we're here to listen.
Here's our conversation with Colleen Ballinger.
You know, now that I'm a mom, obviously every choice I make, I think about how it could affect my children. And I wish that I went into my interactions with my fans with that same mindset of, like, everything I say can affect them, and think about how this can affect these people that you're interacting with.
My next guest tonight is one of the most popular YouTubers in the world.
Her videos have garnered more than 1 billion views online.
You all know her as Miranda Sings.
Please welcome...
God, I feel like I'm about to watch a documentary here.
Colleen Ballinger.
Over 6 million subscribers, nearing 2 billion views, now a Netflix show.
You're famous. You're famous. We're both famous.
Colleen has written a best-selling self-help book, is touring around the world, and has appeared with the likes of Jimmy Fallon and Jerry Seinfeld.
YouTube star Colleen Ballinger.
Oh, geez, not Jerry Seinfeld. The guy who, like, didn't Jerry Seinfeld date, like, a 17-year-old in his 30s? Like, I mean, okay, I guess, I don't know. I have opinions of that, but we're not here for Jerry Seinfeld, I guess.
Who's better known as her online persona, Miranda Sings, is facing significant backlash. She's been accused of having inappropriate relationships with some of her underage fans.
And now a new video she made is landing the content creator in even more hot water.
They wanted an explanation, and they deserved that, and I didn't give it to them.
What happened personally, internally?
I was so caught up in the things that weren't true that were being said about me that I feel like I wasn't listening to the things that were true. I don't blame anyone but me. It was like a part of my brain was missing. People do make mistakes, and people can learn and grow and change.
Yeah, and that's why we pull out the ukulele. That's gonna rob us from all of our sins. Sorry, I've probably a little bit of an inopportune time to be joking. But, is this still the intro?
Did you know they were underage at the time?
Of course.
Welcome back to another episode of Tea Time. Today on the podcast, we have somebody who you definitely know. Because
definitely
if you
know.
know YouTube,
You know her.
You know her. You have to know her. Colleen Ballinger.
That is it. That is my name.
You said it right.
You did.
I get so nervous about like butchering people's names, even though I know your name is
'Cause
Colleen
everybody
Ballinger,
butchers
and I've
hers.
said it so many times.
It wouldn't bother me if you did. Most people don't say it right. My whole life it was Colleen Ballinger.
Ballinger.
Yeah,
People say
I'm
Mayday,
usually-
and so people are always like
Midday.
Midday, because it's not with a middle Y.
Oh,
so
okay,
it gets
okay.
very
Yeah, my name is Raven. People call me Janet. It's so weird. I don't understand.
Okay,
Anyway, we really appreciate you being
we're
here
really happy that you're
today.
here.
I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, there is a very big elephant in the room.
Yeah,
And I think that we just have to address it.
immediately.
Why Miranda?
I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay, I don't know about that. I don't know if that's, like, the big elephant in the room. I feel like that's a little bit... I don't know. Like, you say there's a big elephant in the room. I feel like her persona of Miranda Sings is not really the big elephant in the room that most people would be thinking about. I feel like it would be the allegations, no?
I was thinking about that. I was like, how do we address this? When I
know.
get there?
It's pretty massive.
Yeah, it is. I'm sorry. I mean, luckily for you, she's been gone for a while, so you don't have anyone to compete with that name. But
Thank you.
yeah. I mean, do you actually want the answer to that question?
Yes, I do.
Why Miranda? Why did I name her? Why does she exist?
Why did you name her? We'll get into
Why
the
did you
other
name
stuff
her
later.
and then that?
I was in college doing a play, like a one-act thing, some student-run thing, and I was cast as the role of Miranda.
Oh, God. I didn't even know Colleen Ballinger was a theater kid, but when you really... Okay, you ever notice somebody's just off? Like, anyone you know in life is just, like, off or acts weird or whatever, and then you hear that they were once a theater person in college, in high school, or whatever, then you go, that makes sense. That checks out. That's what I just got right now. Because, like every time I hear that somebody is, like, off-putting to some capacity, or they, like, don't know what the fuck is... Like, they don't have really good social interactions. They're very, like, awkward, but then you hear, oh, yeah, they were a theater kid. That checks out. That makes a lot of sense. So, Colleen Ballinger was a theater kid. I guess that kind of makes a lot of sense.
And I thought it was a show about Disney princesses. That's what I was told. And so I was like, I'm going to get Belle. And then it was like, you're Miranda. And Miranda was like the mean, rude girl in the show. And then when I actually performed it, I think our biggest audience was like 7 people or something. There wasn't a lot of people who came. So when my friends came, I would sing just off key, just a little bit, like just under the pitch or just above the pitch, or like be awkward on stage to make them laugh.
Yeah.
And so when I created the character, I needed a name. I just finished that show, and I didn't put much thought into it. It was just, I just did this character with this name, so I'll use that,
Wow.
You're a mom of 3 now,
I can't believe that.
right?
That's
3
so,
babies.
I don't know, I keep thinking there's gonna be a day where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a mom. Like, it doesn't, I get, like, it can't even, it doesn't, like, I obviously am a mom, and I love my kids more than anything in the world, but it's like, I love Flynn, Maisie, and Wesley. Like, I'm like, I don't have 3 kids.
How old do you feel in your body or in your brain? Like, how old do you feel? Because I feel like 20 sometimes.
20s, yeah, I'd say like mid to late 20s. I feel like I'm stuck there, like in my mind of like, that's, yeah, maybe even younger. I don't know, but I definitely don't feel like I'm in my 30s. And when people say my age, I'm like, oh my God, why are you calling me
It's the fucking theater kid energy, I swear to God.
old? Like, I don't, and I'm like, oh, they just said my age. Got it. So
What is your age?
Interesting.
Hilarious.
You're 38. I think, yes,
It
38.
seems like the approach and the strategy that's going to happen with Colleen Ballinger in this, like, podcast episode with Tea Time is it's going to be very similar. I don't know if you guys watched a couple months ago, back in August, I did an interview with somebody from the object show community called Alchemist Area. And I was one of the 2 people involved in this cancellation, and I have my opinions of it. You guys can go watch the videos if you want to know, like, if you want to have an in-depth coverage of those. But, like, the strategy I went for when I was interviewing Area is the idea was to set a comfortable environment to actually, like, talk about this, right? Because there's no way that Area was going to ever respond again with the amount of backlash that he got, right? And some of it was a little bit disproportionate, definitely. I agree, and I definitely played a role in that. I could have done a lot better handling some of parts of his story. Not to say that he didn't do some things that were inappropriate, but, you know, the idea of the interview was just to have it be like a conversational piece, right? It was like, yeah, I asked some interview questions, but also it was meant to be like a podcasty style thing and just have like a heart-to-heart, I guess. Heart-to-heart, is that even a right way to put it? I don't know. It just meant to feel like a real conversation. That's really how I would put it. But, yeah.
We're the same age.
I think that's what the strategy is going to be on this Tea Time podcast episode.
You're 38?
I'm 38.
You look a lot younger than that.
What? Thank you.
You look like what did you say before we started? A young British boy.
Yes, I'm a young British
boy. The loving
boy.
words I heard them speak to each other before we started filming.
But let's talk about it though, because you come from a big family.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that when you have that many siblings, like, you're just able to say whatever and blurt it out, and it's like joking and moving around. And one thing that I learned when I was on The View is that there's a difference between live in front of the audience and what's happening at home.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me a while to kind of learn that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So to slowly just kind of talk about it, do you feel like you're at home when you're in front of a camera and you feel like that, or have you?
Totally.
Okay.
I mean, that was the whole thing, right? I mean, when I started doing YouTube, it was like kind of when YouTube started.
Yeah.
So the whole appeal of it, I feel like back then, was that these people who were getting famous online, they weren't celebrities. They were real people. We were in our home. Like, that was the appeal of it, is that we were.
Well, yeah, I mean, times change. I mean, a big thing about content creation, back in the day, I would say luck. You had to be really, really lucky to become a content creator on YouTube back in the day, especially in like the old days of YouTube, because I'm speaking like before YouTube became super corporate. It was just a website where you posted videos of yourself. And so you had your Smosh, you had your Shane Dawson, you had your Annoying Orange or whatever, and you had Machinima. You had like these big creators. You know, obviously there was a huge amount of luck needed to get to that tier. Even the Fine Bros, I think. Did I mention the Fine Bros? But nowadays, like, content creation has become so much more accessible, and like so many people can get big off content creation, and the landscape has just changed so much. You know, it's more accessible. Content creation is a lot easier to get into. I would argue content creation is much more easier now to get into than it has ever been in the past.
Your friend, someone who's just, I'm talking to you from my living room, from my kitchen, talking about my day. So yeah, definitely it's really hard to separate the two, between like what's private home life and then what's part of the public persona. Mm-hmm. To me, it was always one and the same. So, and that was, that was a hard thing for me to figure out the lines and boundaries of that, because I thought that was the whole appeal of like back then, when I started doing YouTube, is that I wasn't a celebrity. The people who rose to fame in the beginning, they're just like us. They're, that's
Is that what made you want to start YouTube?
No.
What made you want to start?
It was brand new. When I found it was like brand new, I, saw that people were talking to a camera alone in their room. And I was like, that's so strange, because now everyone talks to their phone, talks to their camera constantly. It's like, that's all we do all day. Mm-hmm. But
yeah, and it spawns a lot of brain rot, particularly on TikTok.
20 years ago, that was like, what are they doing? Do they know that I can see this? Like, I can see them sitting in their room talking to the camera. So I created the character of Miranda, and not you, but like my actual character. And I put it online for my friends. Like, it was a joke for my friends, because like I said, I used to sing a little bit off the pitch, like in theater and choir, to make them laugh. So I created this character that was like,
God, I still can't get over the fact that Colleen Ballinger is a theater kid. I mean, it makes so much sense when you think about it. Maybe, you know what? When you think about it, her ukulele apology, which is like one of the worst apologies on YouTube history. It's definitely one of the most infamous, we'll say. Like, I guess her being a theater kid, like, checks out, because when you think about it, if any theater person gets into a controversy, pulling out a ukulele is something that a theater kid would do. Like, it all clicks. It all just makes sense.
A little off with her singing, but was really cocky. I thought it was funny, and I put it on to send to my friends. And so I only uploaded stuff to YouTube to send to family and friends as like a joke, or, you know, performance videos of me to send to my parents at home. I was in college. There was no such thing as a YouTuber when I started doing YouTube. It was just a website you could upload videos to. There was no desire to become famous from it. There was no desire to become a YouTuber, because that wasn't a thing. There weren't influencers. It was just people uploading videos.
I have a question about Miranda.
Okay.
Why the red lipstick?
Well, in the beginning, I would do whatever people didn't like. Because in the beginning, originally, I thought it was so funny that people couldn't tell if she was real or not. And so people thought it was real. And
Meaning they
thought Miranda was a real person.
Like, that was you.
Yeah, they thought it was. So for a while, that was it. Like,
I will say, like, I'm not really... Here's the thing, like, you could criticize my Alchemist Area interview for droning on a little bit too much at times, but also, I feel like a lot of the stuff we were talking about was relevant to the story to some capacity. I mean, we went into, like, cancellation, we went into, like, the online atmosphere, we went into, like, the status quo. It was meant to be, like, a real conversation, but a lot of these questions are just like, hey, why the red lipstick? Hey, why this, and this, or whatever? Why that? You know what I mean? It's like... I understand if you want to get Colleen Ballinger's opinion on, like, the status quo of the internet, and you want to, like, ask questions sort of related to the cancellation, but it kind of just seems like we're just asking about, like, how the red lipstick was, or, like, why is this character so-and-so, or whatever. Like, what the fuck is this? Like, I don't know, man. Like, I understand that, like... you know, wanting to talk about other things before going into the allegations, but I feel like the red lipstick thing is just so minuscule.
People thought Miranda was a real person, and so whatever people said they didn't like in the comments, I would do it more, because I was like, who sits and just writes, like, these are strangers to me. I don't know these people. And again, this is when it was all new. Like, this is brand new.
Sorry,
to me,
Colleen,
into the
it's
world.
still happening.
Oh yeah, but I'm a little aware that it's still happening.
These comments are crazy.
It's a lot different now. It's much different now than it was. But when they started trickling in, it was like, they'd say, oh, I don't like how you pronounced this word. And so I'd mess up how I pronounce words more moving forward. I've tried to egg on the comments a little bit in the beginning because I thought it was funny.
So Colleen Ballinger was a rage baiter before rage baiting was a thing. She's too big brain, seriously.
That people thought it was.
I guess not big brain enough, because otherwise she wouldn't have sent that, the kid, the fucking underwear or whatever.
A real character.
It sounds like you were doing...
Again, I don't think Colleen Ballinger was trying to sexually exploit children, but what she did was still very inappropriate.
It sounds like you were doing performance art and having the audience inform you of where to go next, knowing that a little tinge of under the note is very appealing at times, right? And that's how you kind of gained your following, by just a little bit of irritation to where people could hate and could love at the same time.
Right. Yeah, I think the appeal in the beginning was that people couldn't tell if it was real or not. And then when people figured out that it wasn't real, they felt like they were in on a joke or something. They were in on it, and that was fun for them. And, you know, like I said in the beginning, it was an older audience for the first few years of my career, and I was doing a lot of nightclubs and stuff like that.
Like, how old do you think?
I just graduated college, so there were people my age, but it was the gay theater community. It was like a lot of like older gay men that would like come to my shows, and so, you know.
Oh my God, Z King, if you're watching this, it's perfect for you.
My comedy was it was crass and over the top and whatever, but they liked that they were in on this joke. And Miranda was a lot more subtle at the beginning too. You know, over time it became this like really dramatic, more cartoony, like intense character, but like in the beginning it was much more subtle. And over time, as people commented what they didn't like, I would do things more. So in the beginning, people I think were drawn to the fact of, is this an actor or not? And then once they figured that out, and then the audience kind of grew and changed over the years, the appeal shifted, because I noticed people started coming to the shows and saying that they were inspired by the character, and they were inspired by her resilience, and that she didn't care what haters said about her, and she didn't care that people were bullying her. She still just was her true authentic self and was confident no matter what anyone said. And so, and that was never my intention, but it was a cool thing to watch happen, that all of a sudden people were inspired.
And this was still live, right? This was not on YouTube yet.
Well, it was on YouTube. It was both. So I had YouTube, and I used YouTube as a way to promote the live shows. So online it was mostly, you know, people hating Miranda. I mean, there were some comments too, like laughing and thinking it was fun and silly and whatever. But yes, it was.
Well, I guess Miranda's not the only thing that they're hating now, right?
Definitely in person and in fan letters and whatnot. That's where I would get the comments of like, this really helped me, you know, to be myself, to be my weird self, and to have confidence and not listen to the haters. And that was like a really pleasant surprise of doing the character that I wasn't expecting. Was it becoming something that kind of became an inspiration for people to not care what people thought, especially as the internet was growing and rising, and, you know, online bullying and hate was getting worse and worse.
Interesting. So do you think, I wonder if the narrative is going to be that, like, because Miranda didn't care about what people were saying online, maybe she just didn't care about boundaries, and that, like, it just never really crossed her mind. Is that what the strategy is going to be here? Because it seems like, yeah, a lot of this is a little bit of droning on, but I am kind of, like, reading what's going to be coming up here, because I think what she's going to say here is because she didn't care about the boundaries of the kids, this was the reason why, is that she didn't care about the haters online, what they had to say about it. They didn't care. If anything, it just never computed to her. She never really cared about that, but then instead she would just do the exact opposite and keep doing it more and more. So I wonder if that's going to be the strategy once we start talking about, like, the allegations again.
Like, I think it was good for people to see and hear someone who wasn't traditionally pretty or talented. You know, it was like this weird looking, untalented girl, like, be like, I don't care what you say, I'm so confident. Like, she didn't, Miranda didn't care what anyone said.
When Miranda came to be, it really wasn't, like, that was for an adult audience.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I certainly never thought I'm making a kid show or a kid character or something to entertain children. Like, that was never the goal ever, actually, in my career. And even when I did my Netflix show, that was a discussion that we had constantly, because they were like, they were noticing, because they came to a couple of my live shows, the people involved, and they're like, oh, there's a lot of teens here. So let's put this on the kids app. And I was like, whoa, this is not a kids show. Like, I do not want this on the kids app. That would be inappropriate. Like, this is 100% not for children. And it was like but they really wanted it.
I don't know about that. I mean, Colleen Ballinger, I'm pretty sure there was, like, a photo that resurfaced from one of Colleen Ballinger's 2014 shows where she, like, asked a minor to, like, reach into her pants or whatever, and obviously, like, that's... I don't know. I think the context of it was that it was meant to be, like, a silly hoo-hoo-ha-ha thing or whatever. Like, reach into my pants, and it's like is it like a performance kind of thing or whatever? There's like it's kind of like what magicians do with magic tricks or whatever. I think it was meant to be something like that. I still think that's wrong. I still think there's something about that that's super uncomfortable, even if the intention wasn't to be, like, sexually exploitative. It's still very, like, there's something very wrong. I think that's still, like, a very clear, like, boundary crosser that you shouldn't have had that happen to begin with. Like, that's still there's something very off. Obviously, the parents were there to witness it as well and everything. So, like, the parents were there with their kids, I think, which is what made it a little more of a controlled environment as well. So it's still very weird. Like, there's something very off about that, definitely. But, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say definitively if that was meant for sexual exploitation.
Because they saw a younger audience, and they were like, we want the younger audience to be able to see this. And I was like, that's fine, but, like, they need their parents' approval, because this is not a kid show, and this isn't a kid character. So I never set out for it to be for kids, or, it was, like I said in the beginning, my comedy was pretty crass. And you can go back and look at, like, my old original content, my first videos I ever uploaded. Like, my humor was that of, like, a mid-20s girl who was in theater and, with all my gay friends we were being like silly and ridiculous and crude. But the people watching me, they liked that style of comedy and that style of humor.
You said that Miranda Sings, you had a good 20-year run. 20-year run with that. You got a Netflix show, girl? I ain't even had a Netflix show. God damn. I'm sorry. You had thank you.
Yep.
I can do anything. You had a 20-year run. You explained that you hustled to make that character what it was. And then the world imploded. And then you got canceled. And then you had all these accusations and a lot of voices come through the
All right, are we finally going to get into the accusations 15 minutes into this?
screen that had been rooting for you for so long. You had the rug pulled out from underneath you. We will...
I guess? I don't know. Not really sure if I like the framing of that, because rug pulled from underneath you, it's like the undertone of that could be that Colleen Ballinger was, like, blindsided or whatever. I mean, I guess technically she was, but there's, like, an undertone that, like, Colleen is, like, really the victim there. I don't know. I don't really like the way that she made that, like, she communicated that.
Get into those and kind of talk a little bit about some of the comments people have made and how certain situations have made watchers and viewers feel. But I first want to ask you, when you first got that ting about, oh no, something is going astray, what happened personally, internally to you?
It was kind of a slow build. And I feel like I felt it brewing for a little bit first. It was a very jarring experience. And first, I think I should say, when my audience kind of grew and it went from this older audience to, it spread and there was now a lot more teens watching me. I didn't adjust my comedy very much because I was like, well, they found me doing this, so this is what they like and this is what I like, so I'm going to keep doing the comedy they like. And I did adjust it a little bit over time.
I mean, okay. I mean, like, here's the thing. You don't have to necessarily change your content just because kids started watching you. I mean, listen, I was watching when I was in middle school and in high school, I was watching a lot of content creators that made a lot of fucking sex jokes. And I found them hilarious, but I never considered that like a form of grooming, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not traumatized from them. I'm fucking 23 turning 24, and I'm not like traumatized by, in middle school or high school, watching a bunch of sex jokes. I highly doubt that any of these kids are going to be traumatized from watching Colleen Ballinger make a ton of sex jokes on her YouTube channel that's like publicly available for tons of people to watch. I highly doubt people are going to be traumatized from that alone. Not saying the DM messages or the group chat messages were okay, but I feel like that's just important to bring up. Like, I feel like Colleen doesn't necessarily need to change her content. So I actually, like, weirdly, in a weird way, I actually kind of agree with her here.
But one thing that I didn't do, and I should have been much more careful about, is I didn't adjust my interactions with my fans. And that's something I regret a lot because, like I said earlier,
I mean, I would imagine
the difference between me and a mainstream celebrity, at least in the beginning, was that I was attainable and look, she'll talk to us, she'll interact with us, and she's talking to us from her living room, she'll talk about anything. And she's so open and she'll talk one-on-one with us. She meets us in person at her shows and whatnot, and we know her, and I didn't think about that when I was interacting with my fans, I didn't think about a power dynamic that could have been there. I didn't think about a parasocial relationship.
Okay. Listen, I feel like Colleen Ballinger was reading up on what a lot of people were saying about power dynamics, and when people online talk about power dynamics, it's just, I fucking just tune out the conversation immediately because it's just not, like, serious at all. Because power dynamics can exist in every single relationship. Power dynamics exist between us and our parents. Power dynamics can exist in relationships you may not otherwise think they exist in. Power dynamics exist between coworkers. Power dynamics exist between you and your boss. The existence of one doesn't inherently mean it's abusive. There's a difference between you being a content creator and somebody liking you because you're a content creator versus you leveraging and abusing that power against them. So if you said something like, hey, if you don't fuck me, I will literally do this to you, that's an abuse of a power dynamic. Or if you do fuck with me, I will do this to you, then that's predatory. But Colleen wasn't doing anything like that, and she wasn't even like sexually exploiting her fans or whatever. It's still inappropriate. I still don't think she should come, like, even after this podcast episode, I still don't think she should come back to content creation personally. But I also don't think what she did, I don't know if it's like an entire condemnation of her character forever. It's just that's wrong. You know what I mean? Like, you shouldn't have been asking them inappropriate questions about like sex stuff or whatever, and you shouldn't have sent a minor your underwear. That's weird. All right, you shouldn't have been doing that. But I'm not sold on like Colleen being a pedophile or whatever. Like, that's like a lot of people were attaching that label to her very unjustifiably. I'm not sold on that. So I am open to this podcast a little bit, but I don't want this podcast to be like an entire whitewashing of what Colleen did.
And I should have been more responsible in thinking about that, but I didn't even think of myself that way. I was like, yeah, we are friends. Like, I think I felt the same way. And so for me, I was like, well, I'm just talking to my friends. I talk to all of them like they're my friends, my sisters, all the fans. And I definitely should have been more careful with the way I was joking with them and the things I was saying to them.
Do you feel like not having a team earlier in your career hindered you from making better decisions?
I definitely wish I had someone to give me advice. I was with that group of like the first YouTubers that kind of like rose to any sort of stardom or fame, in the beginning. So it's not like there were people before me doing this that I could.
I mean, again, team or not, you should know in your 30s not to be like asking a minor like what their first sexual experience was. Like, that's fucking strange shit. Like, I get that Colleen wasn't trying to sexually exploit them, but like, that's fucking crazy. You're in your 30s, girl. You should know that.
Look to and ask questions about. This was a new thing. Yeah. And so, and I'm not saying that as an excuse. There's plenty of other people who rose to fame who didn't interact with their fans. And but it was something that I felt was an appeal to why people were watching me at all. And I felt such pressure to like make sure I made my fans happy because I wanted to do anything that they wanted, and I wanted to write back to every letter and respond to every message. And whatever they asked for, I wanted to give them and do, because they were the reason I had the career that I have. If it weren't for them, I wouldn't have the life that I have and the amazing career that I had. And
It sounds like everything you were doing online was from a place of trying to please your fans and connect with your fans and
Not lose them.
not lose them.
yeah, I really,
That's pressure.
but even with all that, I wish first that there was someone there to help guide me and say like, hey, this could look bad taken out of context. This could look like, this could make someone uncomfortable, or, you know, I wish there was someone there to kind of help guide me. But at the same time, I'm also disappointed in myself that I didn't know better, because other people did. So why didn't I? You know, so that's something that I've had to work through, is like, why didn't I think more about this? Why didn't I think more about, you know, a parasocial relationship? But
Do you have answers to those?
I mean, maybe. I mean, you shouldn't feed into parasocial relationships. I agree. Like, that's not generally a thing that you shouldn't feed into. And these are still conversations that we're having today, but I don't know if that's beyond, like, I don't know. There were certain aspects, and also trauma dumping as well to minors as well. That was another thing. I totally forgot that was even, like, part of it. Where, like, Colleen would also, like, trauma dump onto them. And that's, like, super inappropriate. Like, that could... Like, if you're making them dependent on, like, your mental health or whatever, that could be traumatizing. And that probably, honestly, could be, like, maybe the most damning allegation against Colleen, potentially. But, yeah.
Questions?
you know, I think it all boils down to me just really wanting to make them, the people pleasing tendency of like, I want to do this because this will make, they're begging me to.
You wanted them to love you.
I wanted them to love me. I wanted them to like my content. I wanted them to be happy with what I was putting out there, because like I said, everything that I had was because they supported me.
I need to sit with that for a second. I wanted them to like me, and I wanted them to love me. And so I decided to ask them a bunch of questions about when they lost their virginity, or I trauma dumped onto them, and I wanted them to really like me or whatever. There's something, I don't know. I'm a little bit off-put by that. Something about the way that was communicated there's something very off about that.
And so, you know, that's what I was trying to do, but it would have been so much better for me to think about their well-being and if this would affect anyone in a negative.
I mean, obviously Colleen wasn't thinking about their well-being, but I'm just curious, like, was it like an ego thing, or like, I don't know if that's like is that a true motivation? It's got to be like an ego thing if you wanted them to like you or whatever. Like, there's something very weird about that.
Way, like, that's what I wish I had done.
When did you realize that people were starting to be negatively impacted?
Oh man, there's multiple moments.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to come back to that. I don't know. I don't really think I'm gonna have an opinion on that right now, but there was something very strange about the way that was communicated. I'm gonna have to let that sit for a little bit.
Because it was, like I said, it was a slow build, but like it was, I'd see people who had been fans for a long time, would come to every show, were commenting on everything that I, you know, at this point I'd recognize because I would talk to them and I knew them, and to see them slowly drop off one at a time, it was like, oh, they're very upset. That was painful and really sad. And I wish I'd listened more when all of it happened. I was so caught up in the things that
so I was right. So she is going to run that narrative where, like, oh yeah, you know, I just didn't listen to what people said, and, you know, I just kept doing it because, like, haters, you know, it was rage baiting before rage baiting was a thing, and then that sort of was like the development of Colleen Ballinger not listening. I knew it. Yeah, the writing had been on the wall for that build up to be that was what the narrative Colleen was going to go with.
It's true that were being said about me, that I feel like I wasn't listening to the things that were true and the things that I did make mistakes doing and take responsibility for those things. Instead, I was like, well, they're saying all these other things about me that are lies, and that's not true. And I was angry about those things, and I wish that I had just paused and listened for a second.
There's a lot of things that were said about you. There's been allegations of grooming behavior, or how do you? What do you think they're talking about?
That one is that's the one that got me the hardest. When that allegation came up, that's when I was out. I was done, because that was devastating and shocking. It was very shocking because I know that my intention and my actions have never been fueled with the desire to manipulate or groom anybody ever. That has never been something I have done or will ever do. And
yeah, I mean, I believe that. And based on all the evidence that's publicly available, like, it's very clear to me that Colleen Ballinger wasn't trying to groom children. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, people can get angry at that take. I know that, like, when Papa Gut back in the day had the take that Colleen Ballinger wasn't sexually grooming kids, tons of people were going in the comment section. They were dislike bombing Papa Gut's videos. They were going in the comments being like, this is a terrible take, Papa Gut, or whatever. And, like, it was actually, like, a legitimate controversy that Papa Gut was in. But really, when you put this, like, when you really examine this situation, there was no grooming here. Like, just straight up. Like, you may think that, oh, maybe there was non-sexual grooming here. No, there was no grooming at all. Just straight up. It wasn't grooming at all. There's nothing here. It's still inappropriate, you know, like, you still shouldn't be communicating with minors in this way at all, but she wasn't doing, like, grooming would require them to, like, grooming is, like, separating them from their friends and their family, and then, like, grooming is, like, doing all these things where, like, you'll do testers, right? Testers is another thing. One of the biggest testers is if somebody's like, oh, hey, I'm gonna go shower, and then the other person's like, oh, hey, can I come join? That's an example of a tester, right? Things like that, right? You'll, like, they'll say something and then you'll make, like, a joke or something to test their boundaries to see if they're more open to sexual conversation, right? Or to try to lower their boundaries and make them more open to sexual conversation. But Colleen wasn't doing any of that. There was no grooming in these allegations. Like, I don't know what to tell you. It's not grooming.
It's a very serious accusation.
Very serious.
Mm-hmm. So when those kind of words started being thrown around, that's when I kind of...
Well, yeah, I mean, we could say that grooming is a serious accusation, but it's a literal buzzword online. No one even knows what grooming is anymore online. Like, I feel like the word grooming has been just, like, beaten to death online. Like, I feel like a fucking 13-year-old that dates a 14-year-old, and, like, if the relationship didn't go well, the 13-year-old could be like, I'm a survivor of grooming from a 14-year-old, basically. That's how terminally online it is. Or you'll have, like, Call Me Carson, who was like a fucking 19-year-old talking to a 17-year-old, and it's some dumb bullshit like that.
I kind of shut down, and that was devastating to hear. And, you know, you asked, what does that mean to other people? That's why this was a hard thing for me to know how to navigate, because it wasn't about what did she do or what didn't she do. It was more about what was her intention behind some of these actions, I think. And my intention was being decided for me by people talking about it. My intention wasn't to hurt or do anything negative ever. Now, that doesn't mean that people weren't hurt.
Right.
And that's the part that I wish I had paid more attention to. But I obviously didn't handle the situation the way that I should have. And it's really embarrassing. I wish that I could handle it a lot differently than I did.
When you say that...
I mean, everyone feels that way when they go under controversy. I wish I handled parts of my controversy back in the day a little better. I mean... When we think about it, cancellation, I would say 50% of cancellation is how you deal with it. And unfortunately, Colleen Ballinger decided to deal with it by taking out a ukulele and singing an apology, which is like one of the most theater kid things she could have done.
You're talking about, like, the apology
Talking
videos?
about a musical instrument that I should have not picked up.
Great. I mean, it's going to be there until the end of time now. So, have fun with that one, Colleen.
Yes. I mean, I should have listened to what people were saying, and I should have...
I think people want an apology. I think people want for you to acknowledge the things that happened on stage. I hope that you give that to them.
I agree with you. I think that they do want an apology, and I am sorry. And here's the thing, is when you mess up and when you make a mistake and do something wrong...
Hold on a second.
Sorry. And here's the thing, is when you mess up and when you make...
Oh, they cut. I don't know how to feel about that. I feel like when you try to have, like, an authentic talk and you introduce a cut like that, notice in the podcast...
I think that they do want an apology, and I am sorry.
All right, yeah, listen. So, like, this shot right here, you have this shot. Two of the hands are on her. Listen, I'm a fucking film student. I know all about continuity and cutting. Like, I'm fucking, like, you can't fool me with this shit. Bro, look at this. She has her hands on her chest, right? Like this.
And here's the thing is...
Dude, and all of a sudden, in the next shot, like, suddenly her hands just aren't on her chest anymore, and they're just, like, out of there anymore. So, yeah, that was a cut, which means this was done in multiple takes. So... that can come across like this podcast is not as authentic and it's probably a little bit scripted. that's a little bit, I don't know how to feel about that. It's going to make the conversation feel a little less authentic, seeing stuff like that, but yeah.
When you mess up and when you make a mistake and do something wrong, sometimes you got to keep apologizing for it. And that's what I should have done.
That might be an overcorrection. Apologizing all the time could be like a bit of an overcorrection. But like admitting that you're wrong is definitely like a good first step. I mean, I don't think you should be a content creator. Like just straight up. I still am not I'm still not convinced that you're ready to come back to content creation, but I do think that you I don't think this is like a thing that could ruin her private life with her kids or whatever, you know what I mean? I still think she should be able to see her kids. I still think she can be a good mother. I still think she could probably be a good wife to some capacity. You know, I think she could still live in a private life. But I don't think content creation, especially considering, like, as a content creator, you have to handle kids a lot better. And it's very clear that Colleen Ballinger misused her platform, very much so. And she even admitted to wanting to fuel those parasocial relationships earlier. So it's not really, I'm not sold on Colleen Ballinger coming back to content creation, personally.
And people keep saying it's an apology song. I didn't apologize in that thing.
You did not.
I did not.
You know what?
There
You are
was
correct.
no
You did not
sorry
apologize.
in that.
You did not. I was actually laughing. So you know, that was some crazy penmanship.
We also, in watching it, I remember one of the things that we talked about was it felt like you were angry.
Yeah,
and,
I was.
and burnt out and just
fed up.
Yeah, fed up.
I was.
Yeah.
And it's very clear that I was angry. And that's why I keep saying I wish that I had just paused for a second and listened to my fans.
I don't know about that one, Colleen. Listening to my fans, I don't know. Like, you mean listening to your fans that are children? Also, not for nothing, Colleen, I feel like there was a million other ways you could have handled it and expressed your anger. Doing a fucking ukulele song, that's crazy work.
To my supporters.
And process.
Because
stuff.
while there were things being said about me that weren't true, my people who would
yeah, like grooming and stuff. I do agree that like there's no grooming, and then Colleen's not a pedophile either. Like that, like people got so weird about this. Like I don't know why people can't just be normal about situations. There's a lot of sensationalization that goes on the internet and in a lot of online spaces, and so people sensationalize this and called Colleen like a horrific groomer. That's not true. I don't think Colleen's a groomer. I just think Colleen, acted very inappropriately. She definitely misused her platform, I would say, for sure. And I don't think she should be a content creator, but what she did wasn't sexual grooming. It's not like I don't think she should go to jail for it, personally. I think it's just inappropriate, and she should just, don't content create anymore. And, think about what you did.
For so many years that I'm up here saying, like, I just wanted them to be happy. I wanted to make them happy. Well, they wanted an explanation. They wanted to understand what's going on. And they deserved that. And I didn't give it to them. Instead, I was angry and sang a song, and which is crazy.
It blew shit up.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
It was.
I'm aware.
Okay, just let you know, that was crazy, bro.
Absolutely crazy. And I think, when the dust did settle, because I like you were saying, I did want to address it, and I was being told. I got a lot of advice from a lot of people, and the majority of the advice was don't say anything. And I'm sure from being in the industry for so long.
I tell her all the time, don't say nothing.
Right.
Don't say anything. Why? In case it becomes a legal case? Or, I mean, I guess maybe from like a PR standpoint. It is the Cody Ko strat, honestly. Like, and that's what he did. Like, for those of you who don't know, Cody Ko, in 2024, he was outed for being a 25. Like, he was at the age of 25, he hooked up with Tana Mongeau when she was 17. And they hooked up with each other. Tana Mongeau says she personally is not traumatized by it. And that's like a very normal thing, like I've heard experiences from women who like hook up with guys who are a little older than they should be. Like I heard an experience from like somebody who was like 16 at the time, and she hooked up with a guy who was like 24 or something while she was 16. And then, then she looked back on it when she was like maybe 20, 21 years old, and she was like, yeah, that's a little bit weird. I wish I didn't do that. But she wasn't really like traumatized by it, right? And that's why you have to be very careful when you talk about stories online, because people can overvalidate and undervalidate feelings all the time online. And if you do either of those things in a very vulnerable state, you are susceptible to getting an additional trauma. That's a real thing psychologically. And that's why when you go to see a good therapist, they're very careful to sit you where you're at. Right? Where was I going with this? I had a train of thought and I lost it. It's so weird. I had a train of thought and I completely lost it. It'll come back to me.
Don't address it. Don't say anything. It will just make it worse. Don't address it. Don't say anything. It'll just make it worse.
Oh, yeah, the Cody Ko stuff. I remember now. Don't say it. Yeah. So, with Cody Ko, right, obviously Tana Mojo, you know, was like, hey, you know, I'm not traumatized by it. And I'm sure she would have gotten additionally traumatized if people were telling Tana, oh my God, you're a horrible you're a victim of this horrific thing that happened to you. That psychologically might have been an additional trauma that Tana would have gotten if people around her were telling her that, right? I still think what Cody Ko did was gross. Like, as a 25-year-old, you should not be hooking up with 17-year-olds. Like, you know better at that point. Like, at 25, that's like, come on, dude. Like, what are you doing? But yeah, Cody Ko's strategy was to just not say anything. You know, for the longest time, he just stayed silent about the allegations, and it's probably the smartest thing to do. I mean, if I was in his position, and I'd never be in his position, because at 25, I would not hook up with a 17-year-old. But, you know, if I was in his position, I would say nothing as well at that point, because it's like, what are you going to say? Like, are you going to just admit it and make it worse? Or are you going to deny it and make people more angry? But then what he did was he, in like an obscure channel, like I think it was like his third channel on YouTube, he included it like a 2-minute segment towards the end of one of his like side channels, like saying it, like he wasn't even referencing this. He was referencing the situation, but he wasn't even like explicitly saying what the situation was. And he was like, yeah, you know, I've done some mistakes as well, but the only thing I could do is to learn and grow from my mistakes and all that thing. It was very generic. It was a non-apology, basically, and it was literally nothing. But, yeah, I mean, a lot of people, I guess Colleen, maybe the smartest thing would have been to say nothing, I guess. I don't know how that would have turned out, though.
But I'm in a different position than a traditional celebrity because people watch me because I was so open and I talked about everything. I mean, I've talked about everything, like that I've been through, my mental health and my births and my pregnancies and my journey to fame. Like, I mean, everything I've been through, I've talked about online very openly. And so, you know, my audience, that was one of the reasons they liked watching me. And so then to suddenly be like, not only am I not going to talk about this, I'm going to sing this song about it. And like, and it was such a choice.
It was such a choice.
I very much.
Such a choice, bro.
Yes. And so I think, you know, I was like getting so frustrated because I was just like, let me just address this. Like, please let me just talk. I just want to talk about this. And so finally after I posted the video, it was shortly after I posted it, I was talking to someone on the phone from my team. And I was like, oh, that was a huge mistake. That was really stupid. It was like there was so much, I have to say something. And finally I let it out.
What does regret feel like?
Oh, it's horrible. It's horrible. It's horrible. Because you can't.
I feel like everybody has regrets in life, though. That's a very general question to ask.
Because you want to fix it. And you can't fix it. And that's the worst. Like, I wanted to fix it so bad, and there was no fixing it. There was nothing I could do to fix it. And that was so awful. That was because not only did I not address anything that I wanted to address, not only did I not, you know, dispute the lies that I wanted to dispute, and I just made things worse. It was so bad.
So where do you think your mind went during that time that you were so unable, I guess, to have the perspective you have now?
Were you trying to save a character? Were you trying to save yourself? Were you
just like completely
blacked out in
kind
anger?
of disconnected from it and you're like, I'm just going to do this because I'm pissed?
I think it was a little bit of all of it. I mean, it was really overwhelming to, you know, have these words thrown around in connection.
I think to this day, no matter how much context I'm going to get from here, also, this is a fucking hilarious moment to pause from Colleen. Do I do her dirty and use this for the thumbnail? Do I do it? No. I don't think I'm going to do Colleen dirty like that. But what I was going to say was, I think to this day, we will never know what went through Colleen's head to put out a fucking ukulele apology, no matter how much context she tries to add to it. I don't know if it's better with the context or without it.
To me and my name that are really horrible. I mean, that's a horrible thing to be and to be accused of when you know that you are not that, especially because, in my opinion, that's one of the worst things a person can be. It probably is. And so to be accused of that, knowing that I'm not that.
Are you speaking of grooming?
Grooming. Grooming and in any way harming children. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like one of the worst things somebody could be accused of. And obviously, I mean, in a lot of online spaces, I think generally speaking, there's a lot of good. And I think a lot of people mean well when they try to talk about these issues. They try to, like, protect children. You know, like, obviously you have your actual legitimate dangerous predators. You have, like, EDP, and then you'll have, like, David, or you'll have, like, who else? Mr. Crafty Pants was one that got outed recently for having CP of children under the age of 12, which is fucking crazy. Really disgusting shit. But then you'll have people who out, like, Dream, who was a 20-year-old talking to a 17-year-old, or fucking Call Me Carson, who was a 19-year-old talking to a 17-year-old, within, like, fairly non-predatory age gaps and, like, reasonable age ranges. And then you'll have, like, this weird situation like Colleen Ballinger, where what she did wasn't pedophilia or grooming, but it was still an inappropriate interaction and a misuse of her platform that she probably shouldn't be a content creator, but people got so weird about, like, the Colleen thing, and they were just sensationalizing it and adding so many different unnecessary labels to it.
Is the opposite of something or someone I am or ever would want to be. And so to be connected to those words was devastating. It still is. And and you know, that's something that will, you know,
It'll follow you around.
It will.
It will follow you around.
It will.
There were moments in your live shows where there were children brought up on stage and you were, as showbiz says, going for the funny in a lot of moments. However, looking back at moments, there is another person on the internet who is saying that when she went up on stage for your live show, she was a part of the yoga challenge section of your show. And it made them feel gross. Later in life, they were SA'd, and when they look back at that moment with you, they feel similar feelings. Can you dive a little bit deeper into what happened at the yoga challenge?
Okay, so before going into it, based off that story, I don't know. It's possible, like, the stage thing is very weird. Like, obviously, like, that shouldn't have happened, just to be clear. That's very uncomfortable and very gross. But here's the thing, I don't know if I would label that in the same realm as, like, actually being violently assaulted, right? Like, I feel like that isn't quite there. And the reason I say that is because I think the original intention was Colleen Ballinger was doing it for a silly haha goofs and gaffs thing where parents were present watching their children do it, right? So I don't think it's quite on the same level as that, even though both are wrong. I think both shouldn't be happening, but there's a level of bad, right? Like, one is worse than the other. Being violently assaulted, I would say, is much worse than the Colleen Ballinger stage thing.
It was a challenge on YouTube for a while for people to try out different yoga poses. Like, couples would do it together, because if you're not experienced in yoga, it's difficult to do. And so, since I'm a YouTuber on my live show, sometimes I would do challenges from YouTube. So I did that challenge, and I'd have people come up on stage, and we would try out different yoga poses that popped up on the screen. And obviously we could never do them, and I would be, you know, flailing about as Miranda. And there was one pose where there are two people and both legs are spread open, you're holding each other's legs. And I genuinely never thought of it as a sexual or inappropriate thing. To me, the joke was that when the legs were open to do the pose, the fart sound effect came on the screen. So it was like, once the legs opened up, there was a fart sound.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense, probably. I wouldn't doubt that's probably a thing. Again, I still think that, like, kids probably shouldn't be, like, grabbing somebody, like, close in that region or whatever. I don't think they actually did, to my knowledge. It still shouldn't be happening, I agree. It's still very gross, but it's still not, it's not a form of sexual assault. Like, I don't think it's quite the same thing. Sexual assault is way more traumatizing. But maybe they look back on it with, like, a different... I think, like, it goes back to what I said earlier when that person said that they looked back on that experience and thought, oh my god, that, like, actually was somebody trying to take advantage of me. You're looking back on it and reassigning a new narrative onto it, and then you're additionally traumatizing yourself by that. That's what I'm talking about. When people are in, like, a vulnerable state. Because after being assaulted... Like, that's obviously super traumatizing, and I wouldn't doubt that that person probably has trauma from that, but then they reassigned another narrative on an experience previous to their assault.
And to me, that was all I thought that joke was. I never knew that that was something that would make someone feel uncomfortable and trigger emotions and feelings. I feel terrible about that, genuinely,
Well, I also think we have to remember, it was back in 2014, and the internet was fucking crazy back in the day. I mean, like, you had Shane Dawson making, like, weird... Wasn't he, like, making jokes about jerking off over, like, a fucking... like something about like he was like jerking off over some like 7-year-old actor or whatever, not like the actual literal actor, but like pictures of it or whatever. He was like making a joke about it, and it was like an edgy, like super edgy joke that he like had back in the day, and people like were canceling him over. And then you had like, what'd you call it? There was like some other shit that like came up a while back or whatever. It was just like some weird fucking, I don't know what to tell you. Like YouTube was like edgy back in the day. And so maybe back in the day, Colleen thought, this would be like an acceptable joke to do back in the day. I don't know. It's possible. Like, I feel like it is in the realm of possibility. I don't think it's on the same tier as like sexual assault or whatever. I still think that there's like, it was still like a relatively controlled environment considering the parents were there and everything. It was meant to be like a silly goof and gaff. I still think it's inappropriate. I don't think it should have happened. But like, I don't know. I'm not going to say that it's like a form of sexual assault or it's a form of like, Colleen being interested in kids or something.
When I heard about that,
because I'm not really sold on that personally.
I felt so bad because that is something I'd never want to do, is trigger anyone, but especially a girl who's been through horrible things in that manner. Like that, it feels so terrible that me doing this silly yoga joke, in my mind was a silly yoga joke, could be something that could trigger her in such a negative way and affect her in such a negative way. And it's awful. And I'm really proud of anyone who's been able to come forward and express that, because I want kids and minors and anyone to be able to feel like they can speak up if they're uncomfortable, and they can speak up about things that they feel are not okay. They need to be able to feel that way. Certainly, the things that I've done in my comedy in the past, like there's so many things I look back and go, oh my God, I would never do that. Now I can't believe I did that. And it was for the laugh. You're on stage and it is different than when you're online and you can read comments from people who go, hey, that's not cool. And you can go, oh crap. When you're on stage and everyone's laughing and enjoying it and then telling you after, that was the best part of the show when you did this, this, and this. And a lot of the comedy that I did with Miranda, when my audience shifted, I was like, okay, how do I keep this audience that liked this crass humor and now appealed to this younger audience that now is growing so much? And my solution to that was, I will still do these more crass innuendo type jokes and it'll go over the kids' heads, and then the parents will have something to laugh at and the adults will have something to laugh at that are in the audience. And that was my solution to that.
Guess what? Dan Schneider did the same thing and look where that got us.
Defying what was going on stage?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I thought, well, everyone knows that I'm a safe person and I don't mean anything negative by this. I was like, well, everyone knows this is in jest, and so it's fine for me to do this because the crass jokes will go over the kids.
I don't know if I would have worded it like that, because the way you worded it, you're like, everybody knows that I'm a safe person, so people could go look at that and go, oh, you know that you're a safe person, but you're intentionally doing that because you think that people will be safe going to you, and that like creates more victims or whatever. Like that could be interpreted that. I'm not saying that's what Colleen is actually saying here, but I personally wouldn't have worded it like that because that can be interpreted like that.
Heads and adults will laugh at it, and that is how it seemed to me. I didn't think more about how that could be affecting the younger people in the audience.
Do you feel like you have a different perspective now between, let's say, like bad judgment and harmful behavior?
I definitely do. Yeah, I certainly think that and especially now, now that I'm a mom, obviously every choice I make, I think about how it could affect my children. And I wish that I went into my interactions with my fans with that same mindset of like, everything I say can affect them, and think about how this can affect these people that you're interacting with.
Did parents ever confront you after? Did you ever get any kind of interaction with an adult who said, this didn't feel good for me and my child?
No, I never did personally. I don't know if someone got that message and I never received it. The only complaint I ever remember receiving in that way, in person from a live show or anything, was at the beginning of my shows. I used to do a ukulele song, where I would
damn ukulele.
I know, where I would sing.
That ukulele is fucking cursed at this point. Like that ukulele is tainted.
The hate comments that I received, and there was.
What is it, Amelia Taint or whatever from the Amanda Show or something like that? What was that character's name from Dan Schneider's or whatever? I was about to make a joke there, but I don't even remember the character's name.
Comments. So there was a lot of bad language, and the comments were on the screen, and I would sing them. And we did get some complaints about that. They were like, you're saying bad words like in the first 5 minutes of the show, and I have my young kid here, whatever. And so then I changed it. I bleeped the words on the screen, and I bleeped the audio of it too, so that you couldn't hear or see it. And we also changed on the website everywhere, like, this is a PG-13 show, like, making sure everyone knew that this was not a kid show, because I got that complaint. And so I don't know if it we were getting that complaint and it was stopped before it got to me, or not. But I never received a complaint like that. And in fact, I was usually...
I mean, when you're not going to be receiving complaints about something, obviously you're going to get the okay that it's still okay to do. I still think, I don't know, there's some things that, like, common sense should have told Colleen Ballinger, like some of the way she was communicating with fans, like, that's commonsensical. But again, people got so annoying with this situation. Like, they really over-sensationalized and overhyped the fuck out of the situation. Not to say that Colleen is innocent, but, like, come on, like, let's be normal about this situation.
Told, oh my gosh, these jokes that were, they didn't get it, but it was so funny when I can't believe, it was always the shock of like, I can't believe you said that. I can't believe you did that. And I was always told that it was all funny and it was so ridiculous and over the top. And
time is interesting. Time is really interesting because if you go back in time for entertainment, there's been many a comedian, many a entertainer that has done things in their early career that when they look back on, they wish they didn't, because culture changes. While people were laughing with you and quote unquote at you because of the character, it must feel so like two-faced for you, for all these people who were laughing with you, and then all of a sudden
have them turn against you.
I don't
maybe, but I feel like there were legitimate criticisms hidden within that, like, pile of, like, hate. You know what I mean? I feel like the legitimate criticisms were that she was interacting with them and misusing her platform in a lot of ways. But I mean, I guess people did turn around. Maybe, I don't know. I've seen Colleen here and there, and I've seen Miranda Sings as the character in my recommended, but I wasn't, like, an avid watcher of her.
No, yes,
So maybe, I don't know.
It's painful to see people.
I guess the argument is that there's a lot of people that are performative when it comes to controversy. So when something comes out, they're like, oh my God, wow, that's terrible. Wow, that is perform. Yeah, there are a lot of people who, like, pretend to care about controversy, but they don't give a singular fuck about it. But I don't know if you can really... Okay, I mean, I guess.
People who supported me.
I just think the way that it was worded here was, like, kind of just a little bit, like, it could come across like it's downplaying and whitewashing the entirety of Colleen Ballinger's thing.
Laughed with me and all this stuff, suddenly turn and change their mind about it. But I don't blame anyone but me for, I completely blame myself, especially because I know that people do make mistakes and people can learn and grow and change. And one of my biggest mistakes was not listening and addressing things and taking responsibility.
And playing the ukulele.
Yeah, I'm playing that damn ukulele.
So I just don't want you to forget that.
I will never, trust me, I will never forget
okay, just
that.
make sure.
I went to a fair with my husband and kids, and they had these, like, colorful little kid ukuleles. And I was like, oh, I want to get one for one of our kids. And my husband was like, no. And I didn't even register to me, which is crazy because I always think about it. And I was like, no, what? He's like, do you have something to put it in? I was like, I'll just carry it. And he goes, no, we're in a public place. No. And I was like, what's wrong? And he was like, you cannot hold a ukulele that is hot pink and walk around a fair. Are you insane? And I was like,
that's crazy work. Oh my God. That actually is kind of revealing when you think about it. It really just, like, registers that Colleen Ballinger, that actually explains so much why she has boundary issues. I think, like, right there, she just revealed. And this might be, like, one of the most important parts in this entire, like, podcast episode. And that really clues us in that Colleen Ballinger just has extraordinary boundary issues. And that explains why she interacted with the kids the way she did. So... yeah, I mean, I guess if she has boundary issues there, maybe the boundary issues are why she fucking picked up the ukulele. Maybe she legitimately thought, yeah, this'll help, this is like a theater performance, and there's no boundaries, that register in her head.
But yes,
I am. And also, thank you, because I was about to do it. I just didn't, I don't know how I didn't think about it, because I think about it all the time and how, like, oh my God, I really like that instrument. I can never play it again. It's like, but it was just, anyway, let's get back to what I was talking about. I just got distracted.
Now, this is a live show. My apologies for never going and seeing the
It's all
entire
good.
thing.
No
but
worries.
if you could explain why there is a clip of YouTube of a little boy eating Cheetos out of your pants. Could you explain that for the audience, please?
Pulling Cheetos. That makes it sound more egregious. Like he's physically eating out of her pants. He wasn't. He was taking one.
Oh, he was taking a... See? That's how things get twisted.
Right. Yeah.
So could you explain it, please?
Okay, I don't know. Well, they were just taking a Cheeto and okay, like who cares? You know, the original accusation is that the kid shouldn't be reaching in there to begin with. That was the original point, like taking one Cheeto, but not the. Okay, I don't know. Like I feel like we're splitting hairs here.
Well, I mean, what a crazy thing to hear that there's a woman on stage and there's a young person taking food out of her pants and eating it on stage. I mean, that's crazy. A lot of the joke with Miranda was that I would say and do things that were inappropriate or had some sort of sexual innuendo to them or something like that, and it went over the character's head. Like Miranda was not aware that she was saying something that could be taken the wrong way. That was a lot of the jokes that I did as the character. And so in that particular part of the show that I did, it was probably 8 to 10 years ago that I used to do that bit. Miranda was teaching the audience how to sneak food into the movie theater. And so I stuffed a big bag of cheese balls in my pants. Now I was wearing layers of clothing because throughout the show, I put more clothes on over my clothes on stage. When I transitioned from me into Miranda, I, in front of everyone, put on more clothes. So I'm wearing lots of layers of clothing, and then there's the cheese balls in a bag and in my pants. And so initially I would bring up an adult, and I'd start eating the snack as we're, quote unquote, watching this movie. And then I'd say, do you want a snack? And then they would take a cheese ball from the top of the bag and eat it. It was supposed to be like, she doesn't realize how inappropriate this looks. And then, you know, there's a clip, like you said, of when a younger person came on stage and did that with me. And the audience is laughing because, and you could see my reaction, like, this is a weird situation that I'm in here, but it got a big laugh and everyone knew that it wasn't jest. And this is me trying to, you know, rationalize, that's the word, yes, rationalize the situation. But shortly after, like, I mean, I'd say within a year of doing that joke, I cut it because I was like, I think this
within a year of doing that joke, you what?
Cut it, like I stopped doing it because it was, I mean, my fans were, a lot of them were younger at this point. So I was like, you know, obviously this joke is I'm not gonna do this anymore. It's not working, it's not appropriate. And so I cut that. I regret doing that. I should have never brought kids up on stage, even though the joke was that Miranda doesn't know that this is inappropriate and the audience is like, it doesn't matter. I should have been like, if I'm gonna do this joke, it's in my adult show that I'm doing with adults that are consenting and know that this is the joke, that Miranda doesn't understand that this could look bad.
So you have admitted to sending lingerie to an underage fan. And I know you've talked about this before, but I would like to ask you one more time to address this and kind of what happened and how you're feeling about it now.
Yeah, what an idiot. Is how I feel about it now. I think it was like 10 years ago, something like that. I was doing a live stream and I always loved giving away gifts to my fans online. So I would send them like a bobby pin of Miranda's or a lipstick of Miranda, an old shirt, you know. Usually it was to encourage them to donate to a charity event that I would do every year. But I loved giving out stuff. And so I was doing a live stream.
Yeah, like I said, sending fucking lingerie or like an underwear to your fans is very weird shit. Like that's like, come on. Like you definitely... Like, that should have crossed your head just a little bit. But I guess, like, things were crazy back in the day, and, like, people did all sorts of crazy shit back in the day. It doesn't make what Colleen did okay, but, like, still.
Like, I did pretty often, and I was opening up a box of clothes that I had bought, and in it was this underwear bra set that I didn't order, and it was, we were all laughing about it. So
especially, you have to consider the fact that Colleen was, like, in her 30s when most of this shit happened, or, like, late 20s at least. Like, late 20s and early 30s at least. So, like, there's just not really, like, a lot of wiggle room here.
Pat was laughing about it, me and my friend, and he actually put it on over his clothes and was like, look at this, and we were laughing about it. And there were people in the comments saying, oh, send that to me, send that one to me. And we were like, we're not going to do that, that's crazy. But then there's one fan in particular who kept asking us to send it, and I was like, obviously you can tell in the live, like, I'm like,
I mean, it doesn't matter if the fan asked to send it over and over again. Like, you're still responsible for not listening to that fan.
Hesitant about it because there is a little bit of brains in there somewhere that was like, maybe not, because I hesitated. But then I was like, and I didn't send it. I didn't. But then it was just became an inside joke with the fandom, and everyone was like telling me to send it, and he kept asking for it. It was like months of this, and so finally I did, and it was very public and as a joke. And it was like a part of my brain was missing in action of like, hey, this is not a good idea. This looks bad. It wasn't a pair of my something that I sent to a young fan in an inappropriate way, but it was inappropriate. Like, why would what part of me thought like, everyone will know this is a silly joke in the fandom? Like, I wish I'd never done that. That was so inappropriate. And if he was made to feel uncomfortable because of that, like, I feel terrible and I'm so sorry, because that was not my intention with that. I thought it was like a silly inside joke with the whole fandom. It was all very public, and I thought it was a silly thing.
I wonder what Adam McIntyre would think of this podcast. Adam McIntyre would probably just be like a drama fiend. I don't really like Adam McIntyre either. Like, Adam McIntyre, like, obviously was one of the people who accused Colleen Ballinger and all that stuff, but Adam McIntyre is, like, a massive drama fiend, and they are just not Something about them is awful. They're also super snark-brained against Ethan Klein. Like, they are just, like, super weird vibes.
And it was so stupid. It's also
not to say that they couldn't possibly be the victim of the conversation with Colleen, but also that there's no grooming. Like, Adam McIntyre is, like, cosplaying as a grooming victim.
Difficult, I think, in that specific situation when you feel like you're being given permission, if you will, because everyone is saying kind of the same thing. Everyone seems in on the joke. Everyone seems to understand it. Everyone is saying, send it. And then you have this person not dropping it after that, but continuing the conversation weeks after this has happened. I can see where you don't think about potential negative consequence because in that moment it feels pure.
And you're not sending it in a sexual manner.
No. Well, and I appreciate that. But at the same time, like, it was my responsibility to know.
Yeah.
I shouldn't send this. This could look really bad. And this could make people uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yes.
That's where, even though it doesn't matter how many people are
Yeah, again, it's just like Colleen just has insane boundary issues.
begging it on or asking for it, begging for it, and thinking it was so funny and everyone, seems like this joke. I should have taken a second and been like, maybe send a bobby pin.
Yeah.
Like, this is not the thing to send to someone. This is not something
Not a silver one or a black one?
Well, I think I usually use the black ones.
Yeah,
for
the brown one, that's
black
cute.
reds.
Something else, Colleen, that has come up and been discussed is the fact that you would participate in group chats with your fans.
Here we go. Is this the Adam McIntyre stuff? I'm pretty sure this is like generally the Adam McIntyre stuff.
And there were minors in those chats, and there would be questions regarding their virginity.
Damn, was Dr. Disrespect in that chat too? He was was going to TwitchCon in the equation.
And sex positions.
Right.
Inappropriate questions are being asked to underage people.
Yeah, absolutely. They were inappropriate. Colleen should have never asked them. 100%. She was in her 30s, and these minors were like 13 to 16-ish. Shouldn't have asked them. 100%. Full stop.
What was going on?
Not grooming, though. Like, I mean, it could be grooming. That's the thing. Like, here's the thing. Like, when you ask questions like, oh my God, like, what sex position do you like? Oh my God, are you a virgin? Do you like this and this? Like, that could be, like, it could be a grooming tactic. That's the thing. Like, these are questions and language that could be used to groom children. And that's why you just don't do it either way. I don't think that's what Colleen was doing in her situation, but it's why you just never engage in that to begin with, because it could be used as a grooming tactic.
That's true. It's completely inappropriate. And I used to do this weekly question and answer thing with my audience. And that particular group chat was full of a bunch of different fans of all ages, but they were crass and funny and ridiculous. And they would, whenever I asked for questions for my channel, they would ask me questions like that. They would ask me questions they knew I wouldn't answer, that were over the top, inappropriate. So when one of them, which this part of the conversation is now deleted, those parts of the conversations are deleted or gone or somehow, I don't know. But when they asked for questions for theirs, I was trying to do the same jokes that they had just previously been doing with me. Stupid and inappropriate. Shouldn't have done it. I feel really embarrassed and stupid. And
Did you know they were underage at the time?
I knew that there were teenagers in the chat. Yeah, I did know that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's not good. But again, regardless of if she did or didn't know, like, it's still, yeah.
And I also thought, well, they all know I'm not serious. I don't want the answers to these questions. They all know that I'm just joking around, like they do this to me, and they know I'm not going to answer the questions. I know they don't want the answers. Like, I thought, like, this was, it was clear between all of us that, like, I was joking. I didn't actually want this information from this person.
Yeah, it's inappropriate jokes. Again, I don't think inappropriate jokes would be, like, normally inappropriate jokes are not, like, cancel worthy. I don't think. It's just you shouldn't do them. And it's not good to be doing them, but you need to be educated on why you're not doing them. But, like, again, Colleen was in her 30s, so it's like, girl, you got to be more responsible when you're a content creator. So, again, I don't think Colleen Ballinger should go back to content creation again, but it's not something that I think she should go to, like, I don't know. It's not like wood chipper behavior. I wouldn't go that far.
I thought it was funny. I thought it was funny to ask a really absurd, crazy question. And there were a bunch of questions I asked. Those were just a few of the awful ones that I did. And I should have never done that. That was crazy of me.
It wasn't in a grooming fashion.
Absolutely not. It was in a stupid fashion. It was like I shouldn't.
For the laugh?
For the laugh. I thought it would make them laugh. I thought they'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe you said that. Ha ha ha. Like how they did with me off. And they were very funny. That group chat of all these different guys. They were very funny, very dedicated, wonderful people.
So you were being one of the kids.
Yeah, right.
And you had forgotten.
Yeah,
so
right.
You were acting more like one of your kid viewers versus remembering that you were actually the adult in the chat.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And that lends itself to the power dynamic that you had referenced earlier.
Right.
I mean, I guess the power dynamic is a bit of a different conversation, though. But, like, Colleen Ballinger thing is just very, like, I mean, I don't know. It's just, it's very... It's just not a situation you should find yourself in generally, but what are you going to do?
Kind of had lost the awareness of that
But I do agree that people were very annoying about this situation.
relationship or dynamic.
There was no part of me that was wanting that information truly from them. I wasn't trying to get anything out of them. I was just trying to be like one of them, which is embarrassing to admit because that was not my responsibility in that time. I was trying to be silly like them and be their friend, when in reality I was the one who's supposed to be the responsible one. I was the adult there that should have never participated in that conversation and should have never joked with them about that kind of stuff. There's the power dynamic there, that parasocial relationship that I wasn't thinking about, which was irresponsible of me. Like, I should have been thinking about that, and I should have removed myself from that chat immediately when they were joking about things that were inappropriate. I shouldn't have ever participated in those conversations. And it was rare that I was in there talking to them, but that is one of the moments where I did interact, and
that might come across as a bit of a downplay, not gonna lie, Colleen.
I wish that I hadn't.
I do feel like that this like podcast episode is a little bit like whitewashing the whole thing that's happening with like the everything that's occurring. I feel like there is just a little bit of whitewashing going on here. I don't think it's egregious enough to the point where it's like people are just like blatantly lying, but there's like a bit of a downplay here and there. There's a bit of a, hair split here and there. I don't think it's anything too crazy because I do agree that there were some overblown parts of this story, but also, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like we don't want to whitewash Colleen a little too much to the point where we're like, oh, she's innocent.
Let's talk about JoJo for a second. So we know
it's not what that's not what this podcast is entirely doing. Again, I can already tell that people are going to be really angry at this podcast because they already have like an image of who Colleen is in their head. So people are going to be mad at this no matter what. But, I for the most part think it's interesting. I feel like it's kind of a productive conversation. So I don't entirely hate it personally. I feel like it's fine. It's just, I don't know, just a couple of things here and there that I'm noticing.
JoJo. You
What
know
up, Joe?
JoJo. You became friends with her when she was how old?
I first met JoJo, I think she was 11 when I met her and her mom for dinner because JoJo was a fan, and so she and another girl from the Dance Moms show wanted to meet me, so I went to dinner with them.
Some people will say that that was an inappropriate friendship for you two to develop.
Oh, absolutely. No, a 30-year-old cannot be friends, or I guess someone in their late 20s cannot be friends with an 11-year-old. There's the only time somebody of that age gap should be talking is if they are family members or if they are a teacher with a student. That's it. No other situation should be like a 29-year-old or a 30-year-old or whatever, right? Shouldn't be talking to an 11-year-old outside of those two main reasons.
Since she was 11 and you were an adult. What thoughts, feelings?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't look at it as a friendship at first. She was 11.
Yeah.
And I looked at it as a sweet young girl. I loved the show she was on, and she liked my videos and looked up to me, and she wanted to meet me. And to me, I wasn't looking at it as like becoming best friends with her when I met her. It was just a sweet meeting. And then she's a hustler. You guys know.
I guess Colleen's boundary issues weren't that bad, I suppose. To not say that, like, oh my god, yeah, you could be my friend at 11 years old or whatever. I guess the boundary issues didn't get that terrible, at least. So
JoJo?
At least there's something there, I guess.
She immediately was like, well, I want to do, I had a video called Colleen's Corner that I answered questions every week. So she did JoJo's Juice to do the same kind of, she kind of looked at me as like a mentor, someone she looked up to. And, I don't want to speak for JoJo, though. It feels weird talking about this without her here, but she can say this herself if she wants. But, so over time we became friends because she was such a hustler. She'd want to collaborate. And so we did together and make videos together.
Which is also very common for YouTubers and fellow people in the world to want to
I just realized they're talking about JoJo Siwa, by the way. I just realized that. Bro, I'm not in these, like, fucking makeup spaces or whatever the fuck it is. It's like these weird like theater spaces online or whatever. Like it's completely out of my league.
Collaborate and get to know each other, feed off each other's videos.
Right. So yes, we became friends, but it always felt more like a family thing because I'm a big family person. Like, I love my family. I'm always with my family. We're always hanging out. We're always having family gatherings. And I think that...
Yeah, I literally realized before that they were talking about JoJo Siwa. I forgot JoJo Siwa, like, talked about the whole Colleen Ballinger shit.
Again, I don't want to speak for her, but, she liked to come over to our family gatherings and hang out with my family where we'd be playing games and... eating pizza with my parents, and sometimes her mom and her brother would come, or dad. Like, it was a very family.
They're a big family. The Siwas are a big family.
And my brother and all his kids were there. So he's got 6 kids, and they'd all be there, and we'd all be playing. The kids would be putting on performances, and we'd all be laughing and playing. So it always felt very like sisterly friends. And yes, now that she's older, and
hey sisters,
I would definitely consider her one of my close friends, and I love her dearly, and I admire her so much. I think she's incredible. I was very involved with talking with her mother all the time and making sure her mom knew when we were hanging out, and her mom was like, I'm friends with her mom. I love Jess.
Yeah.
That's all very shocking to me, that people look at us being friends as, I mean, I guess it makes sense considering the allegations that have come up against me, but I think JoJo's amazing, and she's like a sister to me, and I'll stand by that forever. There's nothing weird or inappropriate about our friendship or our relationship. She is amazing. She's my sister, and I have a sister, and she's like a sister to her as well. And JoJo doesn't have a sister, and she's excited that now she calls us her sister. So yeah, it's never been a weird or inappropriate thing.
Even though YouTube is a community of non-celebrity and celebrity people coming together and uploading videos, it has become an industry of its very own.
Totally. Yes.
And within an industry of entertainment, which is what YouTube is now, people are going to interact of all different backgrounds and all different ages. And there are so many YouTube kids that are not on YouTube because they're doing it themselves. They have their parents there with them. And we know Jess as well. We know the family. There will never, ever be a time where Jess is not aware of what JoJo is doing.
Yeah.
And I want to keep people aware that we really do have to be careful in how we throw stones at people when we don't know the entire story. When there is a culture within the entertainment.
It's easier said than done, especially considering like the dumb idiot kids run the narrative online, especially in like spaces like Twitter and whatever, and like on TikTok or whatever. Especially, I don't know, man. It's like my generation has gotten so antisocial, and they don't know what the fuck they're doing when they speak up about these things. It's like nobody wants to apply brain power to literally anything anymore.
That not a lot of people understand.
So much has happened, and I can only imagine that having to absorb and internalize all of this, a lot of it must have made you have to change. I want to know about some of these changes you've gone through since the height of the controversy.
Well, I'm much more anxious now, and I've
Naturally, after somebody gets canceled,
been through so much therapy. And I also just think I go into kind of everything with a different perspective than I did before. I mean, when I responded to everything, I was really thinking about the whole situation from my perspective, obviously. Like, these people have shifted their opinion who were laughing with me, and now they're not. And instead of thinking about like, well, why? I was like, that's not fair, you know, which was the wrong reaction. And so now I look at things a lot differently, just in general in life, you know. Even if I feel I have been wronged in any way or whatever, my go-to now isn't like, that person's wronged me. It's, what are they going through? Why did they say that? What's the root here? Because I think with everything that I went through and everything that I was canceled for, I was so caught up in the things that weren't true, and well, they're missing the context of this, so well, and that was taken out of context there, and this was deleted from this, and you know, I wanted to explain everything and prove that I wasn't this horrible person, this monster. But like, in my response, I kind of proved I was kind of like
Dismissive.
Yeah, I was dismissive. And so, you know, I've learned to take a beat and try to hear what people are actually saying, because yes, there's going to be all the noise, and even when you're just having a little tiff with your partner, they're going to say they're mad about things they're not really, and it's important to try to like sift through the crazy and get to like, what's the root here? Why is this person hurt?
Sift through the crazy. I love it when my partners are crazy. The good kind of crazy, anyways. You know, you never want the bad kind of crazy, because the bad kind of crazy is, well, then you get stalkers.
Yeah.
And how can I help them to feel better? And how can I explain this in the right way to help them feel safe and okay when they're not feeling good?
Well, that mindset definitely comes with maturity. You know, that's something that we all have to learn. That's something that people aren't born with. That comes from trial and error. That comes from trauma. And that comes from a situation like what you have been through. Knowing that this lives online forever. How are you going to explain this to your children?
That's part of the reason why I'm here now. You know, I kind of was of the mindset for so long, like, I just don't want to talk about it. I'm extremely non-confrontational. I'm very anxious, and I will do absolutely anything to avoid a confrontation or avoid someone being upset with me, or to a fault. It's not something I love about myself. It's something that gets me in trouble. And so I don't want to continue to, you know, bring it up for people that they don't, you know, it might hurt them, or, you know, I just feel like, you know, people have said how they feel about me, and I'm just going to back away, because that's what I think that people want at this point. It's kind of how I felt.
You are coming back.
I mean, that kind of ties back what I said earlier about how, like, cancellation is how you deal with it. Like, 50% of it is how you deal with it. And, like, you stay silent and then bring out a ukulele and then play the ukulele, and then you stop talking and then you respond again, and then that's it. And there's only so many responses you can do before your entire personality becomes the controversy. But also, then again, I really don't think Colleen Ballinger should be content creating. I don't think she's responsible enough to have a platform, personally. But she doesn't deserve the wood chipper. She could still be a mother. She could still take care of her kids, and she'll be fine. I don't think her kids are in danger or anything. I don't think she's a threat to children, personally. I just think she's irresponsible, and she just shouldn't be fucking... she just shouldn't have a platform. That's really, like, my take, really.
Back around to not say, take me in again.
No.
But you're coming back around to say, I know what I did. I know what I need to change. I'm changing. You don't have to love me. You don't have to like me.
Right.
But you recognize what happened. And that
Right.
takes a lot of fucking courage.
I obviously wish I could go back and do everything differently in my reactions to this whole situation. I feel terrible that I made anyone feel anything other than happy and safe in our little community online.
I can already tell that this podcast episode is definitely it's not gonna be well received by a lot of people, and not for the reasons you may think. A lot of people are not going to receive it well because they're going to view this person or view this podcast as like platforming some kind of horrific predator. And people are like, oh my God, you're platforming pedophiles or predators or whatever. And so that's why this is probably not going to be very well received. I feel like this conversation, for the most part, outside of maybe like a couple of like downplays here and there, has been mostly fine.
That's all I ever wanted. And
is this what it's like watching my Alchemist Area interview, by the way? Is this what that's like? Where it like provides like a new light on it, but also you catch like a couple of things here and there?
I feel so terrible that I disappointed so many people. And I'm genuine. Can't even talk.
You're okay. Take a beat.
Stressed. I should have thought a lot more about my interactions with my fans and how it could affect them. I should have been more responsible and thought about how these things could affect people, especially, the teenagers that were interacting with me. And I'm so now, in hindsight, like grateful and proud of these people for coming forward and saying, like, hey, this is not okay behavior. Because even though I know that I never wanted to hurt anyone and my intentions and my desires were nothing negative.
I mean, I believe her, like I said, grooming is like intentional. We have to understand that like grooming is intentional predatory behavior. Like people decide like grooming like almost instantaneously at the start of a relationship between an adult and a child. Where they like immediately develop that relationship and they separate you from your friends and your family, or they like tell you to be quiet and never speak up about your experiences or whatever, drawing a dependence onto you, making it so that like doing all these methodical things so that sexual exploitation can continue.
In my interactions with these people, that needed to be said. They needed to say like, hey, this isn't okay, because there are people out there who they do have the intentions to hurt them, and they need to be able to say like, this isn't okay and I'm not standing for this, and like my heart was in the right place. It doesn't matter if people felt uncomfortable. I'm proud of them for saying like, this wasn't okay and this made me uncomfortable, or this is not an okay thing to do.
I'm a little annoyed that people are not looking at this situation correctly or not having the correct conversations about the situation correctly, but overall, I don't know. It's really like one of those weird gray area situations where I don't think what she did was particularly great, but I also am not really on board with the level that people have treated this situation.
Joke about or whatever. That needed to happen. And I hope that anyone interacting with anyone online, whether it be a celebrity or a new friend or anyone, goes into it with that caution up of like, what are these person's intentions? And assuming they're negative going into it, I feel like is a good thing to protect them from
real predators
who actually do want to hurt them.
I'd be curious to know your thoughts on what you think your spirit is here to learn, because what you've had to endure
is a big learning lesson.
It's a masterclass beyond, and it has
masterclass beyond. What does that mean? Isn't masterclass like meant to be like a masterpiece and like a prowess in something or whatever? Isn't that what a masterclass is supposed to be?
I think brought you to your knees. It has made you,
Sorry, I guess I won't play semantics too much here, but still.
You said, more anxious. It's shifted your perspective. You had to take 2 years away. You haven't been online. I mean, it really kind of changed your life. So what do you think the lesson is for your soul, your being on Earth right now?
There are so many lessons. I mean, the things that I've learned.
Oh God, is Colleen spiritual? Gay? No, I'm just kidding.
And reflected on and thought
I love gay people.
About over the last couple of years. I'm a completely different person now in so many different ways. One is, thinking about things from other people's perspectives is important, because while, I might have been like, I can't believe people would say this, I'm sure everyone watching was like, why? I can't believe she's not addressing this properly. I can't believe she's, they felt betrayed by me. my fans and supporters, that I wasn't addressing this the appropriate way and explaining what was going on. And so I've learned to try to look at conflict from the other person's perspective. I've also, everything that I do and everything that I say, especially as a person of influence, is I'm impacting people. And is that impact necessary, and is it good? Because sometimes you don't need to make them laugh if it's going to hurt someone along the way. You don't need to, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Thinking about the long term, as someone who thinks in the here, right now, what will make people happy right now and make people like me right now.
I don't know. Because if you do it that way, then you develop audience capture, and you don't want to be audience captured either, because being audience captured is a very miserable experience for a lot of content creators. I certainly don't want to be audience captured, especially after being audience captured on my old Twitch platform. No, thank you. I'd rather be able to say whatever the fuck I want. Obviously, I don't want to say racial slurs or whatever. I don't want to be edgy or whatever. But I don't want to be afraid of being purity tested every fucking second of the day. So it's definitely a lot more liberating than being fucking audience captured in a space where they could fucking throw me out for a tiny thing the next day and I wouldn't even know about it before it was too late.
Now, that doesn't always result in good things. Thinking in the long term and how is this going to snowball and affect people in the future? It's a way I've never thought before, and it's something I'm still learning and working on, because it is my go-to to be how can I make this person happy right now? I just want, and that causes problems. And you really need to be thinking about the other person's well-being and how it will affect them in the future.
Yeah.
And so that's something I've learned and I'm working on a lot.
It's apparent that you want to make amends, that you are taking responsibility for the things that you have done in the past that were not okay. And you've said, I'm sorry now, many, many times, before being on this show, and now many times today on the show. But I want to know, have you been able to, / will you forgive yourself?
For some things, I think. But I also think I'm one of those people that whatever hate comments or hate I receive, I've already thought it about myself at some point in my life. So, I'm my biggest hater. They ain't got nothing on me. So it's hard for me to have grace with myself and forgiveness. And I think that's why it's taken me so long to even say anything, is I'm just oh, okay, I'll just back away. Cause I just, and that's one of the things I've learned in the last 2 years, is so much of my self-worth was based in the validation from my fans and making sure I was being entertaining and I was giving them what they wanted. And that was who I was as a person. So when that was taken away, I was then I'm nothing. So that was a really hard lesson for me to learn, to find peace and happiness and validation and be okay with myself with that not there, because you can't put your entire person and your whole validation in what others think of you. And that's what I was doing with my fans. I wasn't anything without that.
Do you remember earlier when I asked you what you...
I don't know. All right, we don't have to put on a whole theater performance of crying, all right? Come on. You can communicate how you feel without the whole theatrics. They could be legitimate tears for all we know. I actually do think that part of it is legitimate tears. She probably does feel that way to some extent, but it's you have to remember that Colleen is a fucking theater kid. So it's I feel part of it, I can't help but think that some of it is probably theatrical to some extent.
Your lesson was for your soul. That to me is actually the answer. That the person that you are, because you've struggled with your worth, because you've struggled with your confidence. It's when you have those questions of, am I worthy enough to be here? If you're in this industry and you show weakness, that will be eaten alive.
Yeah.
Because people prey on that.
Right.
And I think your soul's journey here.
I guess. I don't know. People are cancel hungry these days. So I guess I wouldn't doubt it, but I feel this year we've been pushing back a little bit more on bullshit cancellations. Have been seeing it in a lot of other spaces, that people have been calling out bullshit cancellations, the Corey X Kenshin thing that happened earlier this year. People were on top of that for the most part fairly well. I know within the first maybe hour or two, people believed the accuser at first, but then very quickly the narrative shifted back in Corey's favor once we realized a lot of different things, but then there was some misinformation. It was a whole thing. I have videos covering it on the channel.
Is to learn that you're worthy and to really find peace in yourself.
Right.
And love yourself, because I tell you,
Well,
it's brutal.
I'm still working on that one.
I know.
I think this is not a woe is me thing at all, but there's with everything that happened.
Well, it kind of is a little bit of a woe is me thing, just a little bit. I mean, sometimes it can be a bit of a productive thing, but I don't know. This is a little bit woe is me. Like, come on, you're not bullshitting anyone with that one, Colleen.
I was about to do another Broadway show, and I was writing my next book, and I was in the middle of a big tour, and everything was one by one, like, plucked from me. Everything that I'd been working on and worked for decades, was gone, and it sucked. But, like, honestly, like, what really struck me was who am I without this validation from these people? So it took me a while to wake up and not be disappointed, but like, yeah, I definitely worked really hard to get there and realized one day, like, oh, I'm not getting any validation from any audience, and I'm okay. Like, and
I don't know, like, this woman is like in her 30s, like I don't know, maybe this sounds very insensitive of me, but like, you're in your 30s, and like, come on, you, like, not to say that you can't have mental health issues in your 30s, like, you could still have mental health issues, but it's like going on a podcast, talking about things, and then like crying, as well as like adding a little bit of theatrics. It's a little bit, I sense a little bit of performativeness with this, just a bit.
Obviously, I have the most important things.
It's like, not to mention, I don't really see a single tear running down Colleen's face.
The world to me, just my children and my family, and that's all that I need.
Oh my god, I don't know. It's like a little bit.
That's where I'm at now. I think I needed to get to that point before coming out and saying anything.
All right, come on. All right, like, whatever. Like, come on.
Because I need to have everything that I need before I
you need this
make sure this is because I'm just want to clear the air and say my side of things without any like expectations or
Or ukulele.
God, fuck that ukulele. Can I say that word?
You can say that word.
Thank you so much, Colleen, for coming and bearing your soul and being honest and addressing the concerns of others.
Thank you. Thanks for having me,
You
and
did
thanks
well.
for chatting with me.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Do you want to touch on what she's doing now?
No one gives a shit what I'm doing. Who cares? They'll come. They find me.
Just say it. So we can have it.
Yeah,
Read
be like,
my
well,
book.
you can find me at follow me on Instagram. Oh my god.
Thank you all so much for listening to today's episode. I want to take a moment to thank you guys, our community, for being here with us. We are so grateful for all of you. And something else I do want to share is one of the things that I really like about podcasting and what made me actually want to start a podcast with Raven was we really like to have conversations with all types of people that we know well, people that we don't know at all, people that have different views than we have, people that have similar views. I think that a beautiful part of life is sitting down to have honest, hard, authentic, fun, joyful conversation with people.
I can appreciate that. A lot of people are very concerned about branding as content creators, and a lot of people are thinking, oh, how could this make us look? And I can already tell a lot of people are not really going to be a fan of this podcast. I, for the most part, thought it was an interesting conversation. I don't think it's a vindicating piece on Colleen, by all means. I still pretty much have the same take that I always had on her since the start, before watching this, but I still think it's an interesting conversation nonetheless. I don't know. I feel like there was some productiveness that came out of it, so I can appreciate from that perspective. I can already tell not a lot of people are going to like these people though, so it is what it is. You just gotta bear with it, I suppose.
And learning how to show all people respect. And we want to do more of that on this show. So we felt it was our duty as your hosts to inform you of what our intention is and where we plan to go in the future with Tea Time.
So thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for supporting this community. Don't forget to like and share. And until next time, take care of yourself and others. I like that tag. Did you like my tag?
I did.
Yeah,
I did. And don't forget to comment down below if you have a guest that you'd really like to see on the show, because we'll do our best to get them here.
Love you. Bye.
All right. I mean, that was interesting.